Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe.
So are you, sorry, Nitinji, so are you the host now?
I think Shyamji will be the co-host today. You can make me the co-host as well, please.
Yeah,
Radhe Radhe Nitinji, you are already the co-host. We can start the next session.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, Harishi, for a beautiful session. Yeah, it was just touch and go. I got some extra minutes. Actually, we had Swamiji who came in today. So I was at the temple and I didn't feel like leaving his discourse midway, but somehow I was able to make it just in time. A couple of extra minutes helped, certainly. Drink and drive is banned, but eat and drive is not. So I had a quick dinner in the car itself. But yeah, it's always, amazing just to meet him, and got to meet him face to face after a long time. But anyways, welcome everybody. Radhe Radhe. Good morning, good evening. Welcome to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. We'll get started with our opening prayers. I know we are a little over, so we will get started. Today, we will pick up the third P. We've been talking about how the management model of 4 Ps relates to Bhagavad Gita. We've spoken about priorities, which sets up the foundation. Then we went, not the priority, the purpose itself, which sets the foundation, and then the priorities it translates to. And today we are going to talk about productivity, how productivity relates to bridging the gap between Gyan and Vigyan, or theory and practice. So we're going to talk about this concept. I can see two familiar faces. You guys, Swamiji Satsang is over. I had a quick dinner in the car itself, and I'm glad I was able to make it. So let's do share my screen and we shall get started. Give me a sec. With our opening prayers. Radhe Radhe again. We'll start with our opening prayers. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening again, once again. Let's get started. Today we'll start a little differently. Let's talk about some of the spiritual laws. So we've been talking, we picked up 1155 and we also started with 412 actually. Today we will directly get into the topic with a bit of a discussion around refreshing some of the spiritual concepts, and then we will tie it all back to the topic of our discussion today. So let me get started. Just give me a sec. All right, so let's get started. Do we have a choice? Let's start with that. And let me pose the first question. Seeking happiness. I know by now you all are done multiple sessions to be able to answer this question fairly confidently. Seeking happiness. Anybody who wants to take that? Do we have a choice when it comes to seeking happiness?
We have everybody. We have Jyotiji raising her hand. Before that, since you had met Swamiji today in the morning, in the evening there. So A is equal to C. So we all have our pranam to you, because since you have met him personally. So I guess we are also lucky to have you with us, so that we also have some guests from your side. So A, B, C. So we are Swamiji is A, you are B, and we are C. So glad to have you back in session with Swamiji's blessings with us.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. Thank you so much.
No worries. It was so great to meet him in person. We had a bit of a celebration, dhol and all that stuff, and he's so sweet. He just plays along with us, right? People.
He's so energetic. Because last time I met him in Delhi in November, he just sits so straight. I can't even tell you. He's full of energy. Oh, yeah. You will bend, you will move here and there, but the entire 2.5 hours he was just spine straight. Hats off to him. At this age, he has such much energy, and the way he speaks is really blissful, really blissful. You have to meet him to believe all those things.
Very true. And in fact, even if you come to retreats, right, he is the first person to come in the yoga room and the last one to leave after everybody has departed. And every day, the way he goes about it, it's like the first day on job. Amazing energy, and he will give you personal attention for sure. And by the way, okay, I would let your friend talk about it, her own experience, Shefali. So all of you guys are really blessed, I must say that. But yeah, it was amazing. And he started, we did a small kirtan, and then he was telling some stories about Gaurang Mahaprabhu and his disciples. And then I said, okay, I have to leave, otherwise co-hosts will be looking like a deer caught between headlights. So I came here, but I got a few extra minutes. And by the way, if Sandhya and I think Joe was there as well, if you are still there, do have that barfi. It's amazing. Okay, I stole some prasad on my way back. It was pretty amazing. Okay, so let's get started with barfi.
Now you were just trying to lure us to be there to have barfi with Maharaj Swamiji there.
Barfi was amazing. Whoever prepared that, so I had about 2 or 3 pieces. Okay, good. So let's get started with our discussion. Yes.
Jyoti, please go ahead. Radhe Radhe.
Please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
I have met Swamiji quite a few years ago now, and because of COVID, he hasn't traveled this way for a long time. I'm looking forward to seeing him shortly. So, as far as the question, do we have a choice? No, we don't. Bhagwanji is Satchitanand, and we are Anusat, Anuchit, Anu Anand, and our soul is seeking that happiness. And for seeking happiness is why we eat, why we stop eating, why we sleep, why we stop sleeping. All the activities that we do is to satisfy the soul and to seek that happiness. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, beautiful Jyoti ji. I saw Neetu ji had raised her hand. Yes, Neetu ji, would love to hear from you. You had something to add to that, and then Swati ji.
Yes, Swati ji, please go ahead.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are. Yeah, please
Yes.
go ahead.
We have the choice, free will, that we can do whatever we want. We can go to the direction of the God if we want to go to direction of the Maya. So seeking happiness, we are seeking in the wrong direction. Like we thought that happiness is in the world, so we are going there. But we have that free will. We can make the choice where we want to go. But the real happiness is in the God. And so we should reverse our direction.
True, you have gone a step further. So yes, the initial question that I wanted to have a quick thing was, do we ever have a choice not to seek happiness? No, we don't have. And you're right. The second thing is, so it becomes a spiritual law in a way, right? That you have no choice but to seek happiness. The second question is, do we have choice not to serve?
It's also in our hand. No, we want to serve him or not. It's your choice.
No, I'm not asking, do we have a choice not to serve God? I'm simply saying, do we have a choice not to serve? You have to serve. I'm not saying.
Yeah, we have to serve either Maya or the God.
Right.
One thing, we have to serve somebody.
So when
two criteria is only there. Yeah.
Right. So when it comes to having a choice, whether to serve or not to serve, we don't have a choice. We have to serve. And same thing when it comes to happiness, we don't have a choice but to seek happiness. Very true. And the third thing, do we have a choice? This is a little, not to be self-seeking or being selfish. Anybody wants to take that? I can see Kumarji's hand raised.
Actually, thanks, Radhe Radhe, everyone. I had actually raised my hands for the first one, but I will try to answer the third one as well. Okay. So seeking happiness, I was thinking about this. Is there anyone who would not seek happiness? No, I don't think so. Even, for example, Kunti, who said, Krishna, give me all the troubles in the world. But the reason was that when the troubles came, she would think of Krishna, right? Which would give her happiness. So indirectly, even though asking for troubles, she wanted happiness, which she would get from thinking about Krishna. So I just wanted to give that example. Do we have a choice? Self-seeking, selfish. I think we don't have a choice. I think we are selfish in nature. I don't know how to answer this in more detail, but somehow I think we are selfish. We simply don't have a choice in some way, because let's say, for example, we help someone, we want happiness out of that, right? It's not like we want to be like helping that person and feel bad about it. Then we probably won't do it, right? So in a way, we are selfish that way as well.
Yeah, that's true. In fact, that's also a law. We are selfish. We will remain selfish, and there's a reason for that. Okay, that intensity might diminish over time, but then we will continue to be self-seeking because we are not yet there. It may come in different forms, and there are layers and layers and layers of that. We may not acknowledge it to ourselves, but if you think deeply enough, there are layers, and there are layers which you will not even be able to know. When you come under the expert guidance of Guru, he will start peeling those layers, and that's when you realize, oh, that was also a desire I had, and that was also self-seeking. Okay, so many layers are there. That is because we are not yet there. We are not perfect. We have not gotten the perfect bliss that our soul is craving for. And until that doesn't happen, we will continue to be self-seeking. We will look at it in perspective. Now, if you look at it, the other aspect of it is the choice. We don't have a choice in these three matters, right? There's absolutely no choice. However, when it comes to choice, as this gentleman is happily exercising his choice, where to seek happiness, we do have a choice. Whether to seek happiness, we don't have a choice. Where to seek, yes, we do have a choice. Whether to serve, we don't have a choice. Whom to serve, we have a choice. Being self-seeking, we don't have a choice. Whose self-interest to fulfill, we do have a choice. Now, because we think we are actually seeking swarthi means your own, basically you are fulfilling the kamanas or the desires of self. But when our definition of self is this mind-body complex, then what will you do? You will seek the pleasures or the desires or the swarth or the seeking for the body or the senses. When you truly become swarthi or selfish, situated in the knowledge that I am a soul, then you will do things which are beneficial. Like Sri Maharaj Ji beautifully explains, we all are swarthi. But if we come to know where our true swarth will get siddh, will get fulfilled, then also the job will be done. We are swarthi, but we are fulfilling the swarth of something which we are not. And that is what is having compounding effect on the problem that we are already facing. So let's get started with this now. I think had a couple of hands. Anybody wanted to add anything? Surendra ji, I
see. We have his hand. Surendra ji, Radhe Radhe. Please go ahead.
Yes.
Radhe Radhe Prabhu.
Radhe Radhe Prabhu ji.
I just thought of the basic nature of ourself, the soul, Sukh and Shanti. Whenever we say, I want Sukh and Shanti, so that is the basic requirement. It's not given by the body or something. So therefore, whenever we are seeking these two things, Sukh and Shanti, because this is the basic requirement which we were, our nature of. So we can't say that we are not seeking. It is always we are seeking.
We will continue to seek until we attain that perfect happiness. It will continue. There's nothing bad in that. We just have to understand first of all and start peeling the layers of that self-seeking thing so that it becomes beneficial, right? We talk about becoming selfless. The law of the universe is, it's in giving you shall receive. Our law dictates, or our mind tells us, no, it's in holding or taking, we shall receive. So when you start reversing that, you automatically get, right? Even in Hindi, there is a saying, bin mange mile moti, mange mile na bheek. Okay, yahi aaj ki seek. Anyways, so that is the fact. When you start to give, universe will start giving it back. In fact, it is God's rule. When you start giving to God, he multiplies it by 10. 10 is just a number. Okay, don't hold me accountable for that. Okay, just multiplies it by a good amount and gives it back to you. It happens. Trust me, it happens. You can try it out. That doesn't mean now it becomes a little tricky in that sense, right? If you do some sins, and you start offering it to God, God, I did it for you, then he will multiply and give you more of, those propensities. So be careful about it. It's a very important concept. Yes, Samji, you had a question. Let's continue. Can take it quickly.
Nitinji, could you please repeat that again? What does God multiply?
Whatever you offer to him with love, his rule is he'll multiply and give it back to you. Okay, but don't start offering your sins to him. Start taking accountability for those, because then he'll give you he has to multiply and give it back to you, right? Don't offer sins to him. This is a very important concept. I heard Sri Maharaj talk about it. I used to think, if people commit bad things and say, okay, God, I offer it to you, don't offer that. Take responsibility. Say, God, give me strength and the wisdom so that I don't do it. Not that I offer it to you as well. So anything that we offer to God, he doesn't need it, right? He's paripurn in himself. Atmarati, Atma Krida, and there are 3 aspects to God, right? So he doesn't need anything. His rule is whatever you offer, he has to multiply and give it back. There are so many people. Now, don't think of it as a formula to hit a lottery. Okay, that is not the right way of approaching it, but it happens actually with people. So point is, whatever you offer to God, he has to give back. But we will continue to be self-seeking. Only saint and guru do things without any prayojan, without any self-seeking. When they do an act, it is not motivated by anything self-seeking. It is always motivated by a desire desire to serve the people or for the welfare of people, because they have attained that perfect peace, joy, happiness that we talk about. We have not yet, and we will continue to be self-seeking, but we have to reverse the principle in our head that it's in giving one shall receive, and it's not just by having that mindset of taking. So give and you shall get it in return. That is the principle in India. You can try it with simple things in life. You will see that what you give will come around and it gets multiplied. So the concept now that we were discussing as during the course of last few things is lining up our ducks in rows. It all starts with purpose. Our priorities have to align with that. And today we will talk about the productivity aspect of it, right? Just having the right priorities and understanding the purpose is the half the battle. The remaining half, there is a big divide. That divide is between having the knowledge and then being able to put it to practice. And this is one of the deepest divide you would see even in material world, right? We may have a lot of material aspirations and still we struggle to put our knowledge to practice. And that is what we are going to discuss. Quick recap, the big picture aspect is very important that we spoke about yesterday. You will be able to make right priorities only when you have the big picture in mind. Why am I doing something? Why is it needed? Right? Only if we think the big picture about human life is it's a golden opportunity for us, and if we are intellectually convinced, then only we'll be able to make those efforts, right? We spoke about the example of Warren Buffett. I also spoke about when Swamiji, somebody asked him, what made you give up a plum job, and despite being so good in studies and being an IIT graduate, you decided to give up everything and take sannyas? That question is posed by a lot of people, and his simple answer was, because I believed in this knowledge. So simple. He believed in the scriptural knowledge that human life is precious. It's a golden shot at making our life or completing our journey towards God realization, or perfecting our inner self, or decorating ourselves with adorning ourselves with inner virtues and all that stuff. He just believed in that knowledge, and because he believed, it was effortless for him. It was like a no-brainer for him. If somebody asks us to take sannyas and stuff, we are not ready for it. Oh, it's such a big deal. Even our mind will immediately rebel and say, oh, what are you talking about? But for him, it was a very simple decision because he believed in it. So the big picture is important. And then we spoke about life is a B2D journey with choices in between, C in between, and choices that we make presents us with an opportunity either to stay where we are, or to uplift ourselves, or to downgrade ourselves. Downgrading ourselves means digging a pit for yourself. You'll have to climb over it, right? It's not like you keep on digging the pit and then this loka is round and you will just get out of patal and come to the, it's not going to happen. The deeper you go, the higher you would have to climb anyways. So that opportunity we need to seek. In fact, every opportunity gives us, every situation, circumstance every moment presents us an opportunity to uplift ourselves spiritually. If you deeply think about it, it is actually giving you that opportunity. Every moment is giving us that opportunity, as long as we are able to put it to good use. And we spoke about this concept. So now let's get into today's discussion topic. So the divide that we talk about, the knowledge, and the other part of it is the implementation, the practice part of it. How do we bridge this gap, which is the biggest gap that one can find? Knowledge is also called Gyan. Implementation is also called Vigyan. And unless we are productive, or unless we put a few things to practice systematically, will we not be able to bridge this gap? And this is what we are going to discuss today. So productivity, if you look at it, every moment of our life, it needs to be fruitful. It's a very high aspiration, right? We waste a lot of time. It happens. Despite our best intentions, it can happen because our mind is attuned to the lower nature comes in, right? We fall to that periodically. But however, it requires sacrifice for us to make every moment count. And even if you look at a tree which is not fruitful, will decay and die away. So we need to make sure each moment we can put to good use once we start valuing it, and so that we are getting closer to the goal of our existence. And if we are not productive, we suffer externally as well, right? If we continue to procrastinate, we fritter away our time. It's just like money, right? Then we suffer externally as well, consequences. Even the material acquisitions demand discipline and sacrifice around it, and valuing the time. So if we don't honor or respect time, the time doesn't respect us either, right? So it becomes, we can see it in the results as well. So action is important. And if we keep on accumulating knowledge and do not apply it or do anything about it, then it is again useless, right? It is called in our scriptures, there's another trap that we need to be watchful or wary of, which is called Shastra Vasana, right? Sometimes we fall to the trap of simply acquiring knowledge. FOMO, fear of missing out. Read this, listen to this, note this. We are just in the process of acquiring knowledge after knowledge after every book we can lay our hand on, every person who comes for a discourse, every video. We need to be careful about that as well. Okay, that's retaining that focus and picking up a nugget and trying to apply it in life is more important. So it is called Shastra Vasana that we need to guide against. The other two vasanas that our scriptures tell us that we need to guide against is Shastra Vasana, Deha Vasana, and Lok Vasana. Okay, Deha Vasana is where we are very vain. Okay, we just want to look good and thinking only about our body, or we just want to take care of our external appearance without really bothering about adorning ourselves internally, or simply taking care of health, losing the big picture that, okay, end of the day, this body is just a vehicle for us to go from point A to point B. Point B is our ultimate goal, and we spend our entire life to cater to our body alone. That is called a Deha Vasana. Lok Vasana is where we unnecessarily worry about the world, right? What is going to happen in Ukraine now? Why his president is like that? Okay, why have Republicans come to power again? Our politicians are bad, they're just hopeless, or this person doesn't have any sense. So we worry too much about the world and things around us unnecessary. That is called Lokavasana, right? News channel Nation wants to know, and you will start participating in it as well. I mean, how is it adding value to our life if you ask about it? Worrying about the world and big things and politicians and prime ministers, presidents who will win elections, does it really add any value? It is called Lokvasana. Or gossiping about somebody, how that person is. Have you heard about the latest scandal this person has gotten into? It's all Lokvasana, gossiping, nothing else. These three vasanas we need to guard against. Now, the key thing is, in order to get out of Shastra Vasana, you need to pick up a piece of knowledge that resonates with you and start applying it. That is the key thing. And if you look at it purely productivity, even from a technical standpoint, right? What is productivity? Productivity is nothing but output divided by input, right? What you are feeding and what you are getting out of it. And obviously there is a dimension of time to it as well, over a period of time. So you need to measure it with some kind of a time boxed manner to bring in that dimension of productivity. That is where you say, right, even in corporate, they say smart goals, which is specific. Okay, this is where I want to be, which should be measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. So in spirituality also, we need to set some smart goals. We can actually apply that. Okay, and even if we don't set smart goals, if you simply keep on progressing, simply start aligning to those principles, you will see that the version which you started off with and the version that you are now, there's a huge delta. You can experience that delta. Okay, that is how powerful spiritual principles are, or path of devotion is. You can just do a simple comparison yourself, or people will tell you, hey, something has started changing in you for good, and you will also realize that your quotient has started increasing. So we will get a little more into it when we talk about the last P, the profit. Everything is done for a motive with a prayojan, and it has to be profitable. How do we measure the profitability on the path of spirituality is what we will discuss tomorrow. So let's focus on productivity today. Let's move on. Now this is a guy who was walking. He was going up the hill, and along with a monk, and he was going to, let's say, where was he going to? He was going to Vaishno Devi, if some of you have gone. Okay, he was going to Vaishno Devi, and he was walking, as you can see, and along with the monk. And then it was his first time, and he asked this monk, how much time will it take me to reach up there? So monk just looked at him quietly and did not respond back. And then after an hour, monk told him that it is going to take you 7 hours to reach up there. So this guy said, if you were to tell that, why didn't you tell me earlier? I mean, for 1 hour you were quiet, and now you are telling me that. So this monk says, because I was checking your speed. Okay, in 1 hour you cover 2 kilometers, you have to go 14 kilometers, so it will take you 7 hours. So basically, without knowing the speed of a person, how can somebody say how long it will take you? Similarly, on the path of spirituality, based on our productivity, we have to go from point A to point B. Now, somebody can go at a snail's pace, somebody can actually crawl, as you can see. Somebody can actually walk, somebody can actually run, somebody can actually take a cycle, or somebody can take a motorbike. You know where I'm going with it, right? So you can extrapolate it anyways. And somebody can actually take a car, helicopter, plane, or a rocket as well. So it all depends on how much productive we want to be, how much effort we are willing to put, what is the pace we pick up on that. So then this question comes, it's a very philosopher's delight, basically. A philosopher would say, would God know? Anybody wants to take that question, by the way? If I ask this question, does God know when we will become God realized? What do you think? See, God is all knowing, right? Now the question is, does God know when we will realize God? Anybody wants to take that question?
Can I take a dig?
What?
Can I try?
Yeah, sure, please go.
It's true that it's very philosophical thing. God would certainly know all about his ansh, who is who. He would know that when, if I take my example, when I would be God realized. But the main thing is not God, it's about me. I should be knowing that what is with me, what holds me, or what holds me in, what holds me back to reach there. He's, as you know, is all pervasive. He because since we are his part, he would definitely know us in and out. It's just we have to realize this thing that God knows, just we have to know the thing. It's very philosophical. I do not know how to answer it, but yes, it is true that God knows. I will give a chance.
Better know, right? Okay, let's hear from other participants as well.
Let's hear from other people. Yeah. Shashiji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe ji, Radhe Radhe Nitin. According to what knowledge I got from Maharaji and Swamiji, even God cannot predict when we will going to God realize, because he gave us the freedom to surrender. So he doesn't know when we're going to surrender fully, That's what is my, perspective.
God is all-knowing. So how is God is called all-knowing if he doesn't know when we will get caught
No,
up?
he doesn't know that when we're going to surrender. That's for sure.
Sure, we'll come back to that. Thank you, Shashiji. Yes, let's hear if somebody has an alternate perspective or want to say. Neetuji, please go ahead.
Sorry, Preeti ji, Radhe Radhe. Yeah.
Yes, I think God knows that he's omniscient.
Okay,
Thank
all right.
you, sir.
Okay, thank you for your vote of confidence in God for that. Okay. Yes.
Neetu ji, Radhe Radhe. Yeah.
Yes, Radhe Radhe, everybody. And I think God would know because He's watching us for lifetimes and lifetimes what we are doing, right? So I think He knows everything inside out, how much we are capable of reaching Him. So.
Okay. Okay. One in God's favor right now. Okay.
Yeah.
Shashiji said he doesn't know, and two people have said he knows. Let's hear from Pragyati and Jyoti as well. It's a bit
Pragya ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Nitin, Shyamji, and everyone. I think Shashiji is right. I've heard it in Maharaj's lecture. Even God doesn't know कब ये soul 100% surrender कर देगा, but जिस समय कर देगा, मैं like he'll be ब्रह्म ज्ञानी और भगवत प्राप्ति हो जाएगी. So till then we are getting the fruits as per our efforts, and the faith की मुझे इसी जन्म में भगवत प्राप्ति करनी है. It reminds me of a story. I don't know if it was of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or which guru. When his disciple asked कि मुझे कब होगी भगवत प्राप्ति, then he was sitting beneath a tree and he says कि इस पेड़ में जितने पत्ते हैं उतने जन्म के बाद होगी. So then he started dancing, and then Guru, seeing his enthusiasm, I don't know how gradually the story proceeded. He said that तुम्हें अभी हो जाएगी. Then he said that how come you keep changing your versions? You said इतने जन्म बाद होगी, and then right now you tell me that तुम्हें अभी हो जाएगी. So the enthusiasm on this path or any path, and that keeps us moving. And seconding Shashiji's point of view, that God gives us the freedom of free will or choice. अगर भगवान को ही सब कुछ करना होता तो ये सारे जीव मुड़ गए होते, and like all of us would have been walking at least towards attaining him. But that is not the case. We are using our freedom of choice as per our knowledge. And so he says, even Maharaj says कि मैं भी नहीं जानता हूँ अगले क्षण कि तुम क्या करने लगोगे. At times they inspire, but I think largely he leaves us to our free will. Thank you, Radhe Radhe.
Thank you. Beautiful point, Pragyati, like always. So we have two all. We'll take one more just to break the stalemate, and then we'll continue that discussion.
We have few comments. Can I read them if you say so?
Sure, please.
Yeah. Joanji says, yes, because God knows everything. He is living in all of us. He is all-knowing.
Okay.
And Ranidan Singh Joji says, no, he won't know because this depends on Kriyaman and that depends on us and is not pre-decided. Yes, he can assume according to our speed and what we are doing daily. Rifaji says, God does not know as he has given us the free will to use. When God sees our small steps in using the free will to go closer to God, he will know. So we have a bit of conflict here and there. We have two in favor and two against. So
we'll break the stalemate with UTG and then we'll continue with this discussion. I'll get into this concept and a few other slides as well before we get into the topic for discussion. So let's take one more and then we'll proceed.
Jyoti ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. I think English can be a very confusing language. So if the question is that will God recognize when it happens that we have done complete surrender, then everybody that said, yes, God is omniscient and he's all knowing, that part is true. But if the question is that can God predict when my stupid mind will recognize and follow the path and stick with the path and not get discouraged and stick with the goal. So if the perspective is that can God predict when I will stick to that path, then that is not right, and I side with the previous with Pragyadi and Shashiji, I think, who said that we have the free will and we can decide when, and we are driving our own destiny on that point. And it goes back to, I'm just thinking about Gajendra Moksha, I'm thinking about Draupadi. Each time Bhagwanji waited for complete surrender before he gave them the grace. And until I do complete surrender, I'm not eligible for that grace, and I cannot expect that of him. Radhe Radhe.
Right, very true. So 3-2. Okay, thank you for breaking the stalemate. That's right. In fact, this is true. Even God doesn't know when we will complete our God realization, because he has given us a free will. It is like this. And the other aspect of it is God is all knowing. Yes, he has seen us multiple lifetimes. So like we can predict the behavior of our near and dear ones when we see them in a situation. He would have a sense of it, right? When we see our kid lying around or loitering around some candy store, we know he's going to lay his hand on it. Or when you see your spouse around some kind of a shopping mall, you know what to expect, next thing. So he can have a good sense of how our pravartis are, what we can do. But since we have free will, any moment we can surrender or we can do anything completely. So even God cannot predict when we are going to become God realized, because people have transformed their lives by exercising their free wills. So it becomes a philosophical question. But yes, despite his omniscience, we can challenge God. You don't know when we will become God realized. Okay, nothing to be proud of, but he won't know that because we have a free will. He can have a kind of a sense, based on the speed in which we are going, or the kind of tendencies or the pursuits we are putting our mind towards. But then he cannot predict. So it really depends on our pace, our speed, and our priority. Clarity of purpose, of course, that is needed. Prioritization, right? How much priority do I want to give to spend time towards my spiritual growth? 1/10 is anyway mandatory. Beyond that, how much do I want to do? And then the third part is obviously the productivity. How do I and bridge the gap between the theory and the actual implementation part of it, right? Like all the lectures and all this, they seem like music to ears. Wonderful, we just love it. But implementation is the key thing. It's about time we start thinking about how do we start implementing some of those principles and then pick up momentum around that. So let's continue. I see a few hands raised. Shri Ammaji and Padmaji will continue on this discussion. So let me cover a few more things. So moving on, okay, we don't have anything here. No, we do have. All right. So in order to transform knowledge into beliefs, again, the belief is coming back. There is 3-step process our scriptures tell us. The hearing, which is called Shravan. The second part is the contemplation. Obviously, we start with hearing, understanding the knowledge part of it. The second part is contemplation, the manan aspect of it, where we have to repeatedly think about it, deep thinking around that concept. Our scriptures tell us it's just like, the cow has 4 stomachs, so it puts grass inside, then it takes it inside her first stomach, and it brings it back ruminating. You just have to keep on chewing over it. And one nugget of knowledge has the potency of transforming our entire life. Just one nugget. We don't need a lot of knowledge. Okay, it can become a baggage after a while. One piece of knowledge can transform our life. If somebody is having a back problem and somebody tells them just do Bhujangasana 2 to 3 minutes a day, it will change it. You can actually practice it and it will change their life. If somebody tells you just start remembering God, increase the frequency, and you believe in that and you start doing it, start filling the vacuums or the spaces during your day with that thing, you will start seeing the transformative effect within a week. You don't even have to wait for anymore. So one piece of knowledge, when we repeatedly thought over, can transform it. That is called Chintan, right? Manan, in this case, it's when talking about. Newton thought so much about a falling apple that he gave the law of gravity. Just think of his power of contemplation around something that seems so obvious to us. If it will not fall down, where else will it, right? There was a guy in my college, in the hostel wall, he had written, "It's not gravity, Earth sucks." People would love it, right? But Newton, if he had thought about this concept the same way, he wouldn't have come up with the law of gravity. So that is the power of contemplation. See, with contemplation, a person can actually give, do all those kind of the discoveries of natural laws like gravity, like Newton did. And through the power of contemplation, when done in the reverse direction, it can lead people to commit suicide as well. Just being a normal person, through the power of contemplation, one can become depressed in life, and they even take their own lives. They can go to that extreme, rejecting this body that God has given us. And scriptures tell us, just stay away from that. That's the worst thing you can do to yourself. But how does it happen? By the power of contemplation, not used in the right direction. That is the power of contemplation. And the third aspect of it is nididhyasan, where you develop the faith. Right? Swamiji said, I had faith in the knowledge. He didn't say kintu parantu, but how come a monkey can lift this mountain and fly over an ocean and got stuck there only? No. A lot of people, they get stuck there only, right? Why did Ram, on the behest of Dhobi, did that, and they full stop their spirituality? Right? Why? How can this happen? I mean, I'm going to calculate the speed of Pushpak Viman, all that stuff, and they get stopped there only. That's not a very smart way of approaching spirituality. Whatever makes sense, pick up on that and do such deep contemplation that you can start realizing the transformation within. Right? Like Swamiji beautifully says that when we get out of our house, we don't wait for all the signals to turn green. You go first signal and then eventually the next one and the next one. So you go from understanding to next understanding and the next understanding. If you start going from doubt to doubt to doubt, then it's just your mind cooking up excuses because you don't want to do that. So this is a 3-step process. We have to, which will actually take that knowledge deeper. It's not a mere information in your head at that point. It will transform into solid beliefs, which will help you prioritize things and start filling the gap that we are talking about between theory and the actual practice. So the hearing, contemplation, and the faith, the Shravan, Manan, and Nididhyasan. This is what our scriptures tell us. It's very important to keep on contemplating upon a concept that you resonate with and just keep thinking about it. So these are the 3 things which are very, very important. Now moving on, if you look at this baby, little girl, she's looking at the jar and pretty fascinated about it. So what is it? And just thinking about the jar itself, may have a knowledge that it is called honey. So it is called, in our scriptures, Jigyasu. And then there's another girl who simply goes, opens this jars and tastes it. It is called Pipasu. So the journey of bridging between Gyan and Vigyan, or theory and knowledge, or theory and practical, is a journey between being a Jigyasu, plain Jigyasu, where you keep on collecting all the recipes. Right? My mom is also listening, by the way. Okay, everywhere she'll go, she'll collect some recipe. How much of actually translated into actual food is something we can have a good discussion on, but it's about time that we start cooking it as well and tasting it for ourselves and savor it as well. So Jigyasu, plain Jigyasu is very, very near us, right? A devotee says, I want to relish the bliss of God. I've heard enough theory about this bliss of God, this joy, and then this peace, and then the thrill that you feel. I want to taste it. Okay, so they are willing to take on the next step to start relishing that bliss that we have been reading about in Bhagavad Gita, the bhavs and all that stuff, right? Now, they are aspirational goals for sure, but that should not deter us from start experiencing the abhas aspect of it at least. Not the full-blown fire, but abhas. And abhas itself will be so strong that it will turn into a greed that I need more of it, I need more of it. And that is a good desire, dovetailing your desire towards something which is uplifting, beneficial, and better than noble. So today's discussion topic is, what challenges do you anticipate transitioning from being a Jigyasu to being a Pipasu? Okay, it's about time we start bridging that gap, but we have to preempt or anticipate challenges around it. It's not so easy. So let's have a bit of a discussion so that it makes for a good discussion and something that we can take away from practical standpoint in our day-to-day lives. Any questions before we get into that discussion?
We have few by next tag has been posted. Please feel free to share your feedback, suggestions, comments. And we have the grand opening of CIC on this Friday in US. So please feel free to come and join who all are there in US. Since I'm not there, so please go ahead and do on my behalf also. So it is for next weekend, and we also have family camp coming up in June. It's from June 24th till 30th, 1 week. So please feel free to join the camp, and it's a wonderful lifetime experience. Trust me for sure. Since I have not been there, but I can tell you, it is the thing to be there. Anything else you want to share, Bhai?
No,
Can you
I
hear?
love the fact that you said it's a lifetime experience without being here. See, you believed it, right? That is exactly what.
Anything to do with Maharaji, Swamiji, and Krishna, eyes closed, ears closed, and there. As simple as that.
Beautiful, actually. Yeah, that's very nice. And yeah, it is beautiful. It is one time of the year we look forward to, plan our holidays in advance, and it's just a great time, very blissful time. Family camp retreats, they are like experience to be relished for sure. So anybody who gets a chance to attend any of the shivers, retreats, just go for it. It's the best time of the year, and your soul will thank you. Will say, yeah, something good has happened for sure.
For sure, yes. So let's take Padmaji. Padmaji, Radhe Radhe.
And help spread the word around for the CIC inauguration and the walkathon aspect of it as well. Keep sharing the links with you. And our fundraising drive is anyway on. So if you feel inspired, do check it out as well. I'll probably give a formal presentation on it once a month. I think that should suffice. So yes, Padmaji, let's get the conversation going.
So about.
Did you have Barfi, by the way? Okay. We lost your voice. I don't know if my question did that or.
What Barfi?
Okay.
That
answered my question. Okay. Go ahead.
I was there. Probably I left. We can talk later. So now I lost the train of thought. Sorry. God knowing everything.
The whole idea.
I figured that. God knowing everything. And this is how I parse for myself, and if it helps like somebody, and this is correct, this is not scripturally, but something that I have broken down for myself. God knows everything. Yes, if the scripture says God knows everything, yes, it has to be true. But in the context and the subject is where I think we need to dig a little bit deeper and say, what does it really truly mean? And for me, what it really truly means is whatever God gave us, the tendencies, the willpower, the will power, our abilities, our inabilities, all of those things, He knows. But what He does not know is from moment to moment, how we're going to execute that willpower that He does not know. But this moment, this is the thought which came into my mind, and this is the thought which came into my heart. He has an account of that. I might not be accepting what thought came into my mind, but He has an account of everything which is happening in my mind, my heart, and what I'm saying and everything. What I might say next, it's my willpower. So when we say God knows everything, yes, of course He knows everything. Of every tendency that He has given to us, He knows. But how we going to execute that willpower? Probably He doesn't know. Is how I broken down for myself. That was the first thing, and then the implementation part. And again, this is my own struggle that I'm sharing. When we want to implement anything, whether it's materialistic knowledge or the spiritual knowledge, there is this tendency of fear of failure. That when you step into that position, what if I fail? And And you have to be open to fail. And only when you're accepting and willing to fail as many times as you need to fail, then from those failures is when you're realizing what is that you're lacking and what is that you have inside of you that you have never challenged. The willpower, the power, the inner energy, the spirit, the courage, the strength that we all have within us. Unless you fail and repeatedly fail at something, you're not going to see that there is this inner capabilities that we have, and that gives you the adaptability for failures and see something bigger from those failures, and also the acceptability that it is okay to fail, not that it is a sin to fail, but you're actually learning from those failures. That becomes your process, and that becomes natural after a while. Once you go over that bridge or the hurdle or the mountain that we feel like it's in front of us. At least I can speak from my own anything that comes my way. I ask, why am I not taking this step? So there is always a cause, like why I'm not taking this step. And if I say I'm taking the step based on the faith that I have, so you will be able to see the adaptability and acceptability I feel.
No, great point.
Nitinji, can you hear? Yeah.
Your voice is audio is trailing on and off, so you may want to fix your audio, but I think we got the gist of what you're saying. At a macro level, yes, God knows our most intimate thoughts, but yes, because we have the free will, even though he knows our tendency, he really doesn't know when we will actually end up surrendering or how we're going to exercise that free will. Beautiful points. Let's hear from Shamji.
We have few comments. Read them first, or should I?
Sure, please go ahead.
Yeah. Ranidan Singh says, I am stuck with this doubt part. When I contemplate, I get thoughts like someone is trying to brainwash me, and then I am not able to contemplate anymore. I feel devastated. Could you please help me this? I was walking smoothly on the path of sadhana with lots of love for Maharaji, but now I am not able to stabilize faith. Sri Ramyaji says, I used to listen to a lot of videos on YouTube over self-development, subscribed to a lot of them, but after coming here over a period of time, all my subscriptions got cancelled. Preeti ji says, I do not anticipate the challenges I face every single day. I know what it is and what it has to be, both. But how to bridge the gap from knowing an application is a challenge for which I depend upon these sessions.
Great point.
And
so,
yeah.
Who was the first one who asked that question that earlier it used to be, now the faith is not stabilized? Or who was
this is Ranidan Singh Jodaji. Jodaji.
Okay, I'd like to hear a little bit more. Sri Ramya ji, good to know that. That is also one of the symptoms where your multi-branched mind becomes single track or focused. That is also one of the symptoms where you are very clear about, when once your doubts start getting resolved, that resolve and that clarity starts coming in, and that whole other branches that you have opened up in your head, they start shrinking, and then you just have focus in one place, right? And that is when you get good results as well. When all the water supply goes to one, it blossoms. But if you start distributing it, then obviously none of the flowers will blossom. Or if you start digging multiple wells, so the sooner we get that clarity with God's grace and pure intentions, of course, the better it is. That is for sure. So that's really heartening to know. What was the other one?
Ramyaji, please, you can go ahead. Shri Ramyaji, sorry, yeah. Shri Ramyaji, can you hear me?
Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Yes, you are.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to answer two questions. One is the previous one, does God know, does God doesn't know, and other one is this Panjagyasu and Pipasu. The previous one, I feel, yes, what I felt is God knows the overall algorithm, and in his algorithm, there are a lot of if and else conditions, like there are a lot of switches. And he knows that if we go on one path, it will take so much path, and if we go on the other path, it'll take so much time. So he knows the overall algorithm and the overall time, but the switches and the conditions, what we choose, that is left up to us. But if we make a choice of A or B, even in case of A, even in case of B, in both the cases, he knows how much time we take.
But whether we would be making A or B, he has deliberately chosen not to know, and he left it to us. So overall algorithm is what he knows. And regarding the Jigyasu and Pipyasu, what are the challenges? Specifically, I can say about my challenges that I am facing is I always think about what I lack or what I don't have. As like I don't have this, what's going to happen to my life, what is going to be my future, and when I have such thoughts, I'll not be able to do anything. It is mainly because of focusing on what I lack. And sometimes when I have this gratitude, I'm in the mood of gratitude, and when I'm thankful for whatever is that, at that time my mind is calm and I'm able to do something. So my big challenge is I always focus on the lack.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think the Karam Yoga aspect of it that we are going to do next week is going to help a lot. And when you spoke about the algorithm and A and B, that was a lot of machine learning, Shri Ramyaji. So it looks like you've been studying really hard. Very nice. I think at a macro level, yes, God has a sense of it, but at a micro level, the switches and the if else, then else conditions that you're talking about are very, very much dictated by our free will. Thank you so much for your inputs. Beautiful. Thank you. And I'm glad most of your subscriptions are no longer needed. Okay, that is a good sign, I would say. Yes, Shyamji. Okay, Shyamji has taken a Monvrat now.
So sorry, Rahulji, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Radhe Radhe. Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Please go ahead. Yeah.
So I think in my view, there are two main challenges. The first challenge is how to apply the knowledge which we are trying to gain from the scriptures. And I think that is where practice is important, contemplation is important, so that when the time comes, that knowledge is still available with us. Because when the situation comes, that knowledge is already gone far away. And probably the second challenge is to maintain that internal motivation. And that can be probably done by the satsang, attending the classes, and then doing a regular sadhana and having a very disciplined life. Because if we are not disciplined, then all these things will not matter that much. And it can provide a big obstacle. Radhe Radhe.
Beautiful point. Very true. See, if that's the bad news, pulling out the knowledge just at the right moment, it's just like pulling out that rabbit out of your hat, right? That is where we struggle. But precise knowledge that we need, being able to tap into it when it is really needed. And that is where I think, at least personally, I need to get better at as well. And I'm sure a lot of you would be struggling with it as well. But if that's the bad news, Rahul, the good news is you're not the only one. Okay, so you are in an elite company. But yes, we all need to get better at that, because that's the real test of our applied knowledge. How much deeper it has sunk in, how much contemplation and nididhyasan that we talk about, right? Shravan, if we can't just leave it to Shravan alone, it has to be contemplated upon, and then the nididhyasan part has to happen as well. When you have a nishtha or complete faith, then automatically it will start going deeper and deeper and deeper, and then you'll be able to pull it just at the right moment. Great point. Yes, Shyamji, do we have any more? Shyamji, have you taken a mute Vrat again? Okay, I can see Pragyadi and Hetalji, so let's.
We have a comment again from speaking. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Your voice was breaking just a bit in between.
Oh, is it okay now?
Yeah, it's okay for now.
So we have again a comment from Jodaji. They say, and you also get thoughts like everybody who is speaking good is paid to do that. I am so stuck. Please help me out with this. And I live in an area from where I cannot even reach Swamiji or any other Pracharak. I guess he has some doubts. If he can come on screen and share his thoughts so that then I can be clear with your questions.
We have so many participants who can help him with his doubt, catering to the specific situation that you are in. Because if your thing was there, you felt you were getting into, you were gaining momentum in spirituality. What is it that made you lose, that focus and intensity that you had. So if you can come on screen and share with us, I'm sure we have participants, we have experienced participant who will be able to help you out on this, what's going on. So yeah, if you can please come on screen, I think that will be great, Jodhaji.
Like he says, not possible. I cannot join. I will mail. Nitin sir.
Okay, so please.
Fair enough. So
Tracker,
you will mail it.
your contact or attendance tracker. I will reach out, and then I'm sure we can bring some of those things to our discussion, because if it can happen to one, it can happen to a lot, right? That's important. We tackle that question as well. So please fill in that feedback tracker, and I'll reach out to you, and we can maybe have another discussion on some of the aspects that come out of our discussion. Okay.
Yeah. Pragya ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Shyamji, Nitin. Yeah, I just remembered a few points, like when there is so much of doubts, like God knows everything, yet why we are where we are right now. So yeah, God empowers us और हमारे कर्म का फल देते हैं, but He resides within us as the neutral power or the Jiva Shakti. And it is such a beautiful words that Nitin has put, Jigyasu and Pipasu. I think जिस दिन Pipasu बन जाएंगे, उस दिन सारा काम ही बन जाएगा हमारा. And yeah, Jigyasu reminded me of this line from Swamiji, Athato Brahma Jigyasa. I think that's the first sutra from, I don't know, Vedanta Bhakti Darshan or, yeah. Like now that we have got a human form, we need to realize, God, know who am I, what is the purpose of life, and what is our relationship with God. And yeah, I strongly believe that forming that loving relationship with God solves, 75 or a lot of, I cannot put it in percentage, but it solves a lot, it bridges a lot of the gap. सिर्फ अपना मानना है. That reminds me of Maharaj's line from a bhajan. सोचत ही बनी जाए मेरी, न भुक्ति नहीं मुक्ति मांगू मैं. Yeah, the first part, सोचत ही बनी जाए मेरी. How does they arrange marriages in India ends up with 50 years of marriage, 60 years of marriage, and like without even meeting the bride or the bridegroom, मन में वो मान लेते हैं कि he is my life partner, she is my life partner. अपना मान लेते हैं मन से, दिल से, even without looking at each other, and then very comfortably they start living together. Of course, with the Maya ka whatever goes in between, that is there. But what I wanted to highlight is, contemplation is a very, very big part. इसीलिए knowledge हमसे slip करता रहता है when we need it. वो सुनते हैं and then we forget to contemplate on it. Sometimes it stays, some lines stays with us and it registers, but not all of it remains, and we remember because we do not contemplate enough on it. And yeah, if we are able to establish a loving relationship with God, that will bridge a lot of gap. And the practical tool is Swamiji's retreat. It has been a life transforming experience for me. Even I live in a place where I do not get his lectures and retreat. My only source is the online source, but yeah, I make it a point to attend at least one retreat in India, though I have not been able to for the last 2-3 years due to COVID. This is, being in that atmosphere for 5 days or 7 days. आप पूरे समय एक divine atmosphere में, it's either lecture or through Gyan or through bhajans or through cultural programs, whatever. So you're cut off from the material world. And when you come back home, you just come back with your body. Your mind still remains there and everything keeps resonating in your mind. All the knowledge or some bhajan, something will be there for me. It's like 1 year, it remains that inspiration. That is strong is the impact of Swamiji's retreat. Thank you, Radhe Radhe.
Thank you. Beautiful points, Pragyati, like always. That's true. Retreat is powerful. And the reason for that is because when you block out the entire world and immerse yourself in divine knowledge, where you are contemplating, you have blocked out the world. That's what you're hearing. You are surrounded by like-minded people. You are in association with that positive, that vibrant aura that Swamiji has. And all those factors converge. What you feel is a bliss of God. And your soul will tell you, I've never experienced something like this before. That is why the third day of the retreat is typically the strongest one. And I've seen people crying, they don't want to go back. It may not be the first retreat, but yeah, that is how blissful that experience can really get, and pretty intense as well. And this family camp, I think it's eventually going to become like a Kumbh Mela, where people come from all parts of the world. And I won't be surprised if it starts happening a few years down the line. And retreats are anyway phenomenal. So it's a good time of the year we look forward to. And I'm hoping that if things align, there's a retreat in Puri this year in November around the sea beach. That's going to be a pretty amazing one. So if we can make it, I'll try to definitely make it for this year. But fingers crossed at this point. We'll see how it goes. All right. Maybe a couple of hands. Yes, Shyam.
Yeah, Hirenji, yeah, the earlier participant, Jotaji, is Urvi. So she says you know her and she will speak to you.
It's Urvi.
Yeah.
Urvi, okay. Urvi, I look forward to speaking to you. If you can't speak in person, yeah, do email me. I would like to, because I know she used to have very profound questions. Deep.
Yeah.
You know, it was like when we started off with elementary in these sessions, she would ask me some postdoctorate questions. So I was pretty intrigued and impressed by the level of knowledge, intensity, and the inspiration she had. Now, if something is not working out, let's talk about it, because what you had is very precious and you need to hang on to it, not let go of it. Trust me. It's like you are sitting on a gold mine. You are probably even now. So let's talk about it. It's very important to not fritter it away.
Yeah, I guess she's youngest one now. I guess in class 12 last year.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
We started this session. She used to ask some interesting questions. I was okay.
I can recall that.
I mean, I always used to wonder she should be sitting here and I should be the student. So some very intriguing questions for sure. Yeah, do email. We will talk about that for sure.
And Surinderji says Arjuna played Jigyasu for the sake of mankind for ages to come. Isn't that the question mark in my?
Yes, he started as a Jigyasu but became Pipasu soon after. Within 3 hours, he became Pipasu also. Okay, because he understood the knowledge and implemented it as well. When Krishna told him, Sarveshu Kaleshu Mam Anusmar Yuddhacha, means every moment just think about me and go and fight the war. He did that. So he transformed from Jigyasu to Pipasu within a matter of 2-3 hours. Okay, and that was an act he was doing as well, because he was himself a Narnarayana avatar.
Krishna made Arjuna in 3 hours, and I hope he makes us very soon. I guess do not know how much time will we take to reach that level, but still, I guess he will do us very soon for us.
No, I would still say, okay, let's get into technicalities. If Krishna were to do that, he would do it for all of us, right? Krishna will say, why would he even have to give us Bhagavad Gita, right? Why does he even have to manifest Vedas? He'll say, I'll do it anyways for you guys. That is called Ishwar Tushti, where we leave it to Krishna. We have to do it. Okay, that is what the buck stops at us.
That's the catch, man. That's the catch.
That's the catch. If Krishna were to do that, he would do it. Done deal. No need for anything. He will do it, but we have to play our part around it, right? He
was with Arjuna in the physical form, in the real form, and Arjuna could see that, sense that. I guess we are living in the Kali Yuga where we can't even see who is with us. We can't even value a guru with us. So I guess it's all with us, on us, to know the real guru and to have the real knowledge and to be real ourselves. I guess that's what we are taking so much time to be there. Isn't that so?
We have seen him. We didn't believe in him. Okay. So yes, we have to continue working on ourselves. We take one step, he'll take 10 steps. He will do all the heavy lifting for us, provided we are willing to do at least the lightweight, show intent, become a seeker, put few things to practice, and then his magic will start unfolding. It's already unfolding, the fact that we are so interested to read this scripture and we are relishing it, right? this divine nectar of knowledge, that itself is his kripa. So many people will not, their ears will not cooperate, their feet will not cooperate going to a temple. So the fact that we feel inspired itself is a huge grace. So his magic has started unfolding. Now it's all up to our appetite, how much more we can let it unfold. So yes.
I know it's all on us. Onus is on us. We have to be what we should be, I guess. Yeah.
It will happen, Shan.
We have few comments. Read them for. I know it has to happen. It has to happen. There is no second option there. That I'm sure.
We will leave no choice for Krishna but to grace us. Okay, let's put it that way. It's like you don't have a choice but to grace us. Okay, so that's
true.
Inspiration. Through our surrender, of course.
Yes, that's apt.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, obviously that before I take Hetaji, Asha ji says thank you so much for the awesome session. As usual, Nitin ji, Shama ji, no words. Shalini ji says Radhe Radhe Nitin ji and Sham ji. First point, when I was a kid, my parents used to say we all have God within us. So I believe the framework is something that God has created for us, but the direction we make it, customized it within us. And it also reminds me that when we learned yesterday, when we think, believe, and do something thinking about God, we get focused, right tracked, and confident on our deeds. One challenge, I think, is being a believer and working towards obtaining it with patience and positive thoughts. That's the key word, yeah. Patience and positive thoughts. And Surendraji says, souls have to take the first step. Souls know it's the body who has to take the first step, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, soul, we have to make that decision firm, right? Obviously, we'll act through our body. But yeah, there's a beautiful lecture series, Ab to tum hi maan lo haar. So soul says, first you grace me, and then I will break all the Guinness World of Book of Records and surrender. God says you first surrender, then I'll grace you. He said you first grace us, then I'll surrender. God says you first surrender, then I'll grace you. What if I grace you and show me a thumb? So it's a pretty interesting conversation. It's a huge lecture series for that, a beautiful one. But the point is we have to first surrender, and God is willing to grace us.
Okay. We had Hetalji raise a hand. I can't see now. Hetalji, are you there? Hetalji? Okay, I don't see. Okay. We have Shashi Verma ji. Shashi ji, Radhe Radhe.
हाँ जी, नितिन जी, जो आपने अभी बोला है ना, I want to say it in Hindi. You know, जो आपने अभी बोला है ना, इसी के ऊपर महाराज जी ने बहुत बड़ा लेक्चर दिया था. और एंड में, हाँ जी, एंड में उसका कंक्लूजन उन्होंने यही बताया था कि तुम मान लो मैं कृपालु हूँ, बस मैं कृपा कर दूंगा. That's it. हमको मान लेना है. That's it. और कुछ नहीं करना, पर उसको मानने के लिए हमें बहुत कुछ करना है.
सही बात. और उस सीरीज का नाम है अब तो तुम ही मान लो हार.
हाँ जी.
Thank you so much, Shashi ji. Very nice. Yeah, that's very true. It's a very interesting lecture series. Okay. Yes, Padma ji, you had something.
Radhe Radhe. Yeah.
Radhe Radhe. From a different angle, like the hurdles, like why we don't do, at least, you know, when I ask this question, and I have been asking this question, like I feel like that question actually demands one to read their own mind. And when I say read their own mind, like where are we failing? How are we failing? And what are those times or the circumstances that we're actually failing? So that is what we call chintan, right? The deep contemplation. So once you identify where you're failing, why you're failing, and how you're failing, like these three questions, that gives us enough tools to identify those circumstances or situations. And if you contemplate enough on that, the next step is usually our mind, whether it is spiritual or material. You know, we have the fear of failure. We might not acknowledge it, but there is so much fear of failing something, right? But when you contemplate on these three things, it gives you the power and the strength and the courage from inside to fail and see that it is okay to fail. But from those failures that you acquire, that inner spirit and the inner energy and the inner courage, that becomes the faith eventually. And through that process, the adaptability and the accountability what you have to do in those difficult situations will become a pattern. If that situation comes back to you again, you know what to do the next time around. If the situation comes back again, you do a better job at the same situation next time. So that contemplation gives you these baby steps or the energy to be better at that particular situation or the failure. And one of the devotee was asking, the spiritual energy was very, very high and sometimes it falls. That is a natural process and a way of God testing us, like where are you going with your direction? And when and this is, I'm speaking for myself, when the purpose gets repurposed in our mind with something else, that downfall happens spiritually, when the purpose is not aligned with what you were supposed to align from the beginning. And but if you contemplate on those failures and the moments of repurposing your purpose, what happens is those moments of errors will actually become the moments of corrections. And only through those moments of corrections is how your inner soul will develop and beautify, and then it takes a beautiful form and shape to its highest potential through those moments of errors and corrections, errors and connections, through the convictions and the contemplation while you're failing and then getting back again. But during that process of getting back again, you cannot do it alone. You try your willpower, execute your willpower, but beg at his feet, always beg at his feet that I cannot do this alone. Give me that courage to do it.
Beautiful points. Very true. In fact, the failure part, it reminds me of Thomas Alva Edison. When he was trying to invent the electric bulb, he failed about 4,000 times. 4,000, and then finally he was able to invent that electric bulb. And somebody asked him, at the fourth, when he had failed for about 3,000 or 4,000 times, hey, you failed so many times, what keeps you going? So he said, you may think that I failed 4,000 times. If you ask me, I have learned 4,000 ways of how not to make a bulb. So he actually utilized that as a learning, like you rightly pointed out, Padmaji. And with regards to Urvi's question, even Maharajji explains, you will have good sanskars and bad sanskars. They will keep fluctuating, those will come from time to time. When you have good sanskars, it's just like swimming along with the tide. It will be effortless. You will be super inspired and things are just flowing and everything is clicking and you feel very motivated. You love the divine knowledge and all. But when your bad sanskars would come, then it's just like riding uphill against the tide. So the thumb rule there is to keep fighting with your mind that I have to do this, get into a routine, have your journal when you are inspired, when you look back at it, it will help you. You can revisit what inspired me, how I felt at that moment. And with the knowledge that this too shall pass, those bad sanskars, that not a permanent phenomena, but that bad sanskars should not become so heavy or so much that it takes, you take a U-turn in life. You just beat it with knowledge, fight with your mind. Said, I understand if you are not cooperating right now, but I know eventually you will have to. Don't simply take a U-turn in life. That's where real knowledge, journaling and contemplating and being able to read yourself helps. Because if you simply go with the flow of our mind, sometimes we are inspired, sometimes we are not, sometimes we are in a good mood, sometimes we are in a bad mood. People who play to the whims of their mind, then these things can happen. But people who start understanding spiritual principles and start looking at this from a higher plane, they understand not to dance to the tunes of your mind, dance to the tunes of your mood. You are in control of your mood to a larger extent. You can tell your mind, no, I understand you're not cooperating right now, but I have a higher power than what you are telling me to do. And you can actually do that. You simply don't have to obey to our mind. Because mind can be very unruly at times. And most of the times it is like that because it's not yet our friend. Great discussion. I know we are way over, like always. Tomorrow we will get into the profit part of it and we will look at an inspiring story to see the secret of unlocking what we need from this universe lies within us. Okay, and it all starts from us, and that's what we are going to talk about tomorrow, and some of the matrix of how to be a profitable, how to derive profits out of our spiritual journey. What are some of the yardstick we can see, and and see things working for ourselves, so that it keeps us inspired, enthusiastic, and motivated to continue progressing on this path. Because distractions will come, bad sanskars will come, kusangs will happen from time to time. But if you have gotten yourself sorted out, at least at certain level, that will help you fight with that. In fact, if you have a spiritual mentor, a God realized saint, it is said they even fight with your bad sanskars. So when you get bad sanskars, they know that your bad prarabdha and those sanskars have a potential to derail you a little bit, but they fight with that and they control that as well. That is how much the power of Guru or the significance of Guru is. We think we are serving him, actually they are serving us. And God starts taking accountability for you as well, because when you are sincere, with a purity of intention, sincerity of heart, you are trying to make progress towards God. Whenever you start deviating, he will do the course correction for you, like Billi ka bacha. We have done that, right? So that is the power of the path of devotion. So it is very, very precious, and we get a lot of help from God and Guru on this path. And of course, you will be arming yourself with the right knowledge to fight against your mind as well, and not simply flow with, whatever your mood is telling you to do. You don't become enslaved by your mood alone. Great. Anything else?
We have a comment there. We have a comment there from
your voice.
Satyanarayan. He says, thanks to my daughter Shalini to show me a right. Can you hear me now? Better? Okay.
Yeah, better. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, there's a comment from Satyanarayan. He says, thanks to my daughter Shalini to show me a right path on joining this, a great session on knowledge and faith. Radhe Radhe. So that's for Nitin and JK Lok. Swamiji.
It all goes to Swamiji and Shri Maharaj Ji. Yeah. People like us, otherwise we would have been frittering away our time, right? He has given us such a great platform and a vessel where we can sit together and do this satsang. So I can't thank him enough for that, right? For giving us this wonderful platform and an opportunity to contemplate on this knowledge every day. And it is benefiting each one of us. I can, our experience would tell us that as well. Great. Tomorrow again, we'll meet and let's do our closing prayers. Who wants to do that today? And let's see.
Please take initiative, all of you. Please, somebody new person, as Nitin says, raise a hand and we can do the closing prayers. Somebody wants to take initiative. If not, then I'll do that. Somebody there? Manishji. Manishji is there, yeah.
Shyamji has lowered the bar, okay? He would have asked you to turn on your camera. Now he's simply saying, raise your hands.
Yes. Yeah, I think people would, otherwise I will still on the thing that please put the cameras on. We all can interact well. Nitin is in Dallas. I'm in Delhi. If we can meet around, Nitin would love to people who are in Dallas to see him around and meet Swamiji since he's there. And I feel envy at times from Nitin Bhai that he could go today morning, evening, meet Swamiji, have barfi and come back with all of us. And he mentioned barfi thrice. So that's not good, Nitin Bhai. You are mentioning barfi again and again because barfi from Swamiji, from temple, it's bliss. I can tell you for that for sure.
It was pure bliss. I can tell you that. I had 3.
I know that. I can imagine that. Yeah.
All right. I think Manish is going to do the closing prayers. Let's do that.
Yeah. Manishji, Radhe Radhe. Please go ahead.
Everyone.
Radhe Radhe Manish.
Sarve bhavantu sukhinah. Sarve santu niramaya. Sarve bhadrani paschyantu. Ma kaschid dukh bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Full. Good to see you, Sunilji. Rahul, Pramodji is there as well. Lakshmiji, everyone. Yeah. And Shefali as well. Shefali, by the way, you'll have a lot of good stories from your friend. Okay, so look out for that. Okay. Radhe Radhe. I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow.
Thank you so much. See you tomorrow. Yeah. Radhe Radhe. Yeah.